Hello guys, welcome to a new video of tier lists that I'm doing finally after a long ass time. I've done some tier lists in the past on this channel for most notably fighting games, but we're back today with a different kind of one. You may have, if you've been a long time subscriber to the channel or viewer, you may remember that I used to upload a lot of Fortnite videos, Fortnite content, various highlights of games and wins, etc. And that's dried up a lot because I play the game a lot less nowadays. But basically, as the title suggests, guys, I'm going to be ranking, taking a walk down memory lane here. I'm going to be ranking every single Fortnite named location that was in Chapter 1 and 2. Basically, the way Fortnite is devised, if you've never been aware, is that Chapter 1 lasted for 10 seasons. Each season would have Battle Pass, etc. Chapter 2, I think, lasted 8 seasons. And now we're currently in Chapter 3, Season 3. I haven't played the game in about a year. It was pushing close to a year. Probably about 10 months. 9-10 months I went without playing it. And recently, in like the last week or so, I got back into playing it. So I thought I would honour that by ranking every single location was the plan actually, but there's no chapter 3 locations on here, unfortunately. Just to name locations, guys, it's not everything. Obviously, there's plenty of locations that we never named that were really good. I'll probably touch upon them when it comes to ranking drops. For example, Sweaty Sands, which is, spoiler alert, I'll give one example, going to be ranked pretty highly. I think Sweaty Sands is a really good spot. That is added even more to it by the fact that my favourite spot on the Chapter 2 map was a castle that was northwest of it, which is where I used to land on Solo Arena. And that was somewhere I'd land and then rotate into Sweaty. So, spots that aren't marked and the nearby surroundings are going to be a factor into this. Preface this tier list, which I've done in the past ones, but of course controversy, because they always will. But I preface this tier list by saying it is no definitive ranking. I'm no pro. This is my opinion, but I do have a wealth of experience playing this game. I was never great. I was okay. But man, I played this game. I was an OG. I played it from like Chapter 1, Season 2. It was about halfway through that. In fact, it was just, I think Season 2 had just started when I got onto it. Chapter 1, Season 2. And I played it pretty much consistently, religiously, up to about Chapter 2, Season 4, which is about 2.5, 3 years worth of playing, like, at least once a week. But, man, there was probably like a year period where I played it, like, almost every day that I could. Because people forget, and it's become a meme, but people forget just how good Fortnite was. It's still a pretty fucking good game, but, at its peak, it was very good. And maybe that's a video for another day where I rank other things. I could rank Fortnite seasons, etc. But what we are stuck with here is, to be fair, what I'm familiar with. I stopped playing around Chapter 2, Season 8, I think. I think it was the last season of Chapter 2 I didn't play. And there's another season I from about Chapter 2, Season 4 through to 8, it was kind of a bit sketchy how much I played. But I'm very familiar with all of these spots. Indeed, some of them are in the current map, actually. So we're going to start with Anarchy Acres. Anarchy was not there for very long. It's going to be a bit of a Fortnite history talk this as well, because I'll run through each drop's history, I guess. Anarchy was there at the very start. It was an OG spot, like a pure OG spot. It was there at the very first day one. But then it went, I think, after Chapter 1, Season 4. Or maybe it was Chapter 1, Season 3. The end of that it went. I think it was Season 4. Anarchy was not even named at the start as well. It's one of the original spots which wasn't actually given a named location. It was added later on. Just like Dusty Depot and Flush Factory, I think. But Anarchy was kind of a poor man's Fatal Fields, in my opinion. I liked Fatal. I've always kind of liked the farm spots. They were good for mats, great for wood, of course. Metal with the tractors and stuff, not great for brick, etc. But in terms of pure loot, it wasn't the best. In terms of fighting there, I quite enjoyed it. It was quite open. There were no like cornfields like you got in the farms in the latest Fortnite in Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. I think it was kind of an average drop though. I think I'm going to put it in C. I don't despise Anarchy at all. It was just a bit meh, to be honest. I didn't really miss it much when it went, to be quite honest, because you still had Fatal. But it served a purpose. The very first iterations of the Fortnite map were very bare. And there wasn't much there, so Anarchy was a lot better then. It was in the north of the map where there were a lot of good spots that you could land and then rotate in, or a lot of good loop paths, and routes afterwards. But yeah, it was okay. Catty Corner was Chapter 2 map that was there from about season 5, 6 onwards, I want to say. I don't know exactly how long it was there, but I've got that in my head. It was a very small drop, but it was decent. I think with drops, the way I should analyse this is a lot of these drops evolve over time. There are times when the drops are trash, times when the drops are good. So I think you should factor all of that in rather than just take the drop at its peak. Because Catty, originally, it was season 4, I remember now. That is the season with the superheroes and like the gold weapons and the no-do mythics at each drop. Catty had a mythic charged shotgun. It had a vault. Any spot of a vault always had value for like that time where it was at its prime, because you would get just a lot of good shit there. For how small it was, the loot was good. There were a lot of fruit pickups there, so if you're playing arena, you could get a lot of peppers. You could be pretty stacked. There was also a weather station just above, and just nearby shacks. When I think Catty, I think the snowy map, most notably. In terms of the location, it was not in the worst spot, to be fair. It was close-ish to retail. It wasn't too far from what's it called? There was like a meadow spot. I'll recognise it the second I see the name once we get to that. Misty Meadows, that was it. Just spotted it. It was close to Misty, and Misty was really fucking good. So that adds to it. I think Catty is. I don't think it's good enough to give it B. So just don't think there are enough chests there. It was too small. It was also kind of awkward to fight there because the fences up. There was basically like one main building. Well, that was two, but I'm gonna definitely rank it above Anarchy though. I think. Yeah, we'll put it in C. Craggy Cliffs. We come to the first drop that is ranked higher than C. In fact, I'm gonna rank it higher than B. I'm gonna put it in the A tier. Just to scroll up as well here, guys, actually, if you haven't seen, there is an S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, and trash tier. But I'm going to put Craggy in A, because I like Craggy a lot. I didn't land there as much as other drops in the Chapter 2 map, but I landed there pretty often. I think it was very reliable. It was quite big. There were a lot of chests there. There was a reboot fan there. I mean, to be fair, I think there's a reboot fan every named location, but there was an upgrade bench, which was. It can never be underestimated how OP that was in Chapter 2. They're less OP now, but if you had the gold, you could upgrade. Like, particularly at the time, the spaz was in the map a lot around then. It was nice. So it was the main building there. You can't see my cursor actually. I'm trying to hide it, but in the top right hand corner of this map is the main building that was on the cliff face. If you landed up top there were slurp barrels. That's always something I love landing on, because you can pick up minis or big pots and save them. The location of it was very, very north coast. So it could be a bit of a bad drop to get to. I definitely feel like central areas that I should factor that in when I'm ranking them, because rotation after, does it make for good games? People landed a Craggy. You could get good, interesting early games, a lot of kills, a lot of fights, but then you'd kind of go a long period of fucking nothing. But it wasn't like miles away from stuff. It was close-ish to Pleasant Park. Also to what was that place in the top right corner? Again, when I see the name, I'm gonna remember it. But there was a place with like power plant fans that shot you up, and that was good. It was close to there, Craggy. There were also plenty of cars anyway for like the rotation out. There was a slurp truck for a while nearby it. For two actually, where if you pickaxe them, you'd get full shield straight off. It was a good drop, Craggy. I think it's testament to how good it was in like pubs and arena that Zetro seemed me still on there. I think no, he usually did well from arena. Craggy was often a contested spot because of how good it was. The respect of the pros and the love of the common players, I think, like the pub players. Next up, Dirty Docks was another Chapter 2 map. We're going through the Chapter 2 maps here. Dirty Docks is going to be the first one. Is it? Yeah, I think I'm putting an S here. I love Dirty Docks. It was probably my favourite spot in the whole of Chapter 2 map. Beg your pardon, guys. Lighting my smoke. It was, I mean, I'm going to be biased because it was me, my friends Sam and Rob. It was our arena drop when we played trios. It was mine and Sam's drop when we played duos. I often dropped there on solo. It was the very first spot I dropped on that map, actually. I remember it well because I watched the cutscene and that. And then the bus just happened to be going over there. So I just hot dropped straight away to the first thing. Found Dirty Dots, and the rest is history. It was really good, man. There was never a vault there, I don't think, or anything like that. It wasn't too far from the grotto as well, actually, which, while that was there, that was an incredible drop. It was probably better than Dirty, actually, but Dirty was just there longer. But it was just really good, man. There were a lot of chests. There was a lot of fishing spots there for a long period of Chapter 2. Fishing was OP. I feel like it's less OP now. Because fishing holes just tend to only give like one fish at a time. You used to be able to get about 4 or 5 fish from each fishing hole, so you'd leave Dirty Docks with like 4 floppers, 3 slurp fish pretty much every time. It was okay. There was like a mini Junk Junction kind of nod to that when you left west. That was usually good to stop by. Dirty had a upgrade bench, a workshop bench. So did the Junk Junction spot. For quite a while, there was an NPC there when you interact with the NPCs where you could buy, I think it was a scar on occasion. There was another one that could sell you a blue pumper thing. And then if you got the gold for it, you could just upgrade to a spaz. So many times I feel like me and the squad would land at Dirty Docks and we'd leave stacked as fuck. It had enough loot for 3 people, 100% at least. It had holding enough loot for a squad. It was that big. There were slurp barrels there. It was a really, really good spot. And I will always love Dirty Docks. I hope it returns in Chapter 3. Chapter 3, they have some drops that are new, some drops that are returning from past. Dirty Docks is something I would love to see return. It was a very, very good drop. Next up, Dusty Depot. There were variants of Dusty, you can see. There's also Dusty Divot. Dusty Depot was an OG. It was there on day 1. It wasn't named, but it was then given a name. And it was gone by Chapter 1, Season 4. I think it was the start of Season 4, the meteor had hit the map, and it just wiped out Depot, made Divot. Depot kind of became a bit famous, I guess, because it was Swiss CDN the third used to drop. C's, who was one of the early Forerunner big Twitch streamers who like played the game and helped make the game popular. It would always have been successful anyway, but he's just linked to Dusty for me in my head. But I think it overshadows its flaws. It wasn't that great. It was just 3 big hangars, I guess, like warehouses. So there weren't many chests. There was probably only about 6-7 chests across the whole thing. It was out in the open. The map, to start, like I said, was pretty open. So fights there were kind of interesting, actually. They were kind of good, but they could also be a bit junk. You know, if you're on the roof and they're down below, there were a lot of hidey holes. There's fences in the way and shit like that. It wasn't the most open place to fight. I think it was an awful spot to drop on. I've dropped on it many times. But if you didn't get a shotgun, you're kind of fucked. And so often, for some reason, loads of people always went to Dusty. I found maybe it's that talking, but I always felt like if you landed there, you never really got that much loot. There was a broken house nearby between that and Loot Lake that you could maybe land on and then move in. It was close to Tomato Town, which again wasn't really great. I feel like you'd have to loot Dusty and Tomato, kill everyone there to get the loot you could get from even splitting Pleasant Park, for example. So I didn't miss it too much when it went. It did come back. That's something worth noting. It came back briefly at the end of chapter 1, I think. And it came back with some derpy variants, I think. That's going to be a recurring thing to talk about in this video. But overall, I think it was. It hurts me to do this actually, because I do have affection for OG spots, but I'm gonna put it in D. Dusty Divot was. It went through a few alterations. When it first arrived, I liked it, and towards the end, I don't think it did. Because when it first arrived, it was, like I said, the meteor had hit down, there were crystals that you could pop, and it was 0 gravity. That's something that Fortnite has done intermittently throughout the history of the game. 0 Fisher in the game right now, for example. When it was more open, I think it was better, but then it just became a fucking shit Wailing Woods, in my opinion. As you can see on the picture on here, yeah, I'm gonna spoil it straight away. I'm gonna put it in D tier. There were a lot more chests than Depot, I think, but I just didn't really like fighting there. The fact that it was the divot as well, if there were people up on top, they could get height on you. It was a bit of a ball ache to, get out. One good thing is, to be fair, it's great for Matt. It was really fucking good for Matt actually, because you had wood, everywhere, trees naturally. But you also had a lot of metal buildings. You had everything there but brick, pretty much. So it was better than Depot in that regard. It was better than Depot in a lot of ways, to be honest. I think that's a bit of bias, putting it below it, in the same tier, albeit, but below it. But yeah, I just think the more overgrown it became, because that was a progressive thing throughout the map, the less I liked it. So yeah, gonna rank Dusty low. Fatal Fields, man, I've had 3 spots in the original map, all bottom 3 so far, and 3 spots in the subsequent map, top 3. Did not expect that. Patterns are going to change right now, because Fatal Fields goes in A tier, 100%, and it goes above Craggy. I like Fatal a lot. Fatal was really fucking good. There were a lot of good spots nearby there, most notably Mexico. When we'll come to that, we'll talk about that more when I talk about Paradise Palms. But Fatal was really fucking good. It had a lot of chests. It had amazing mats. It had mats for everything. Probably the most brick of all the spots here so far, except maybe Craggy or Day. But obviously, I had a lot of wood. There was the barn, had a few chests. There were a couple of. There was the stable. The big house was good, and they've kind of brought back that model of house a lot subsequently. I'm pretty sure every farm in the game. Its location on the map was really fucking good. It was quite south, but it didn't border the coast or anything like that. It wasn't too far from Salty Springs, which always seemed to have a lot of people. And it was good to fight in. Fight was really open, but there was enough there to make for interesting fights. You could interact with the scenery there to, turn fights on its head if you were Matt or something like that. I don't think that there was ever anything nobly changed with Fatal. I guess they ended up putting cornfields in there, which is just a generic thing they did a lot in this game. That was not massive on. I used to hate people who'd hide in that. But I don't think they ever fucked with Fatal too much. I think there was a time when they had the slipstream and it passed through Fatal, and that added to it being a great drop. In terms of rotating out of Fatal, I felt like whenever I landed there, I was never fucked for zone, ever. It was a really good spot. I saw a lot of action as well. A lot of people would land there. There were definitely times where Fatal was my favourite drop in the map at that time. You know, if they nerfed some other spots or got rid of them. For a long time, that was our arena drop as well in the squad. It was also the landing spot of my mate Sam's highest kill in game. And when we originally got, I think we got something like 26, 7 kills as a squad. One of the original squads, me, two of my mates called Sam actually, and a mate of mine called Josh. I think that was where we landed that game as well. So yeah, Fatal always led to a lot of kills. It was a really good spot, and I miss it daily. Really, really good. Oh man, another one that I'm probably going to be biased and ranking this higher than it should be right now, but I'm going to put Flush Factory in B tier. Flush will always hold a special place in my heart when I think of Fortnite, because it was the very first spot I landed in my first win. Well, yeah, I should rephrase that. It was where I landed for my first ever win in the game. Again, it was an original spot, close to Greasy in the southwest corner of the original map. It also returned a variant of it. It was kind of a smaller version of Flush, returned in the Chapter 2 map for a few seasons. I think it came in about season 6, and it was there like, I didn't play for about a month and a half and then came back and it was just there. And I think it was there until the end of that map. Yeah, that was kind of a nerf version. The original Flush will always be the best Flush. Wasn't named originally, then got its name. It was in a bad spot of the map. You would land there and you would have to fucking run a long time. Of all the named spots, it was probably, well, I guess it's tied for like the worst location with jump, because they're in like the top corners. But I always feel like the southwest corner of the map was a bit less busy anyway. But it had a lot of loot, actually. Like, given its size, it wasn't that big. It had about 3 main buildings, but it had a lot of loot there. There was a big ass mountain nearby as well, and sometimes, like, if you landed somewhere else, you could go down to that mountain and get good snipes on Flush. So you're a bit susceptible to that if you landed there, I guess. But you could say that about Craggy, I guess. You could say that about anywhere. Dirty Docks as well. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I think it was a good drop, and it went too soon. I think they just got rid of it quite early on in Chapter 1, actually. Maybe like season 5 or 6, I want to say, they went. And that was a shame. It was probably season 7, because that's when they brought in the snow biome. But yeah, Flush was good. Frenzy Farm was good as well. It was a weaker Fatal, but it was better than Anarchy, in my opinion. Frenzy was actually pretty stacked for loot. It was quite big. This is basically Chapter 2 map version of, the farm. Because there's almost always a farm on Fortnite. I'm going to put Frenzy B tier, but I'm going to put it higher than Flush. Man, the more I think of it, the more I feel like it should be A tier. It went through a few iterations. I think the original Frenzy was the best Frenzy. I'm struggling to think in my head right now what changed and why it went bad. But I remember saying to Sam, or like thinking, like, it's not quite what it once was, Frenzy. So it took a nerf somewhere. Maybe they just like got rid of half the map, or like half the city or something. It wouldn't surprise me. There was probably like an event that nerfed it. I can't think right now. But it was good. They brought it back. There was a season where it had a vault. It had a lot of loot. All the same pros that I've given to the farm spots, I will say, for this one. It was good to fight in. It was very open. It had great mats. It was in this arguably the single best location, the Chapter 2 map, with the exception of one drop, because of how fucking central it was. You almost always got zone there, or you were never far from zone. It had a lot of buildings from Fatals. It wasn't exactly like there was no like ingenuity in the drop, which is something I think I should factor in. But it was good. It was pretty solid. Next up, Frosty Flight. I'm going to put Frosty for the first time in trash. I did not like Frosty at all. I did not like... I was going to say I did not like the snow biome, actually. I wouldn't say it was bad. I just think for the time it was in the Chapter 1 map, it was the worst biome. It was the worst area of the map. It replaced Greasy and Flush, so I think I already disliked it. But I'm not too shallow to rank it just off that. I just don't think it was good. I think there were like 2 hangars. There was a big cliff with like another couple of buildings in, but each building had like 1 chest. So if there's a lot of people landing there, like a few squads, you basically get like 1 chest and 1 bit of floor loot, pretty much. It just wasn't good. One of the reasons why I hate it as well is it was the home of the planes, so you know it sounds a trivial thing to say, but it's a big factor. People would land there, grab a plane, and then just shoot you. And planes were fucking stupidly OP. They were kind of cool, but they weren't. Do you know what I mean? It was the classic thing in Fortnite where if you're using one, it's great. If you're getting used on you, you don't like it. But almost every time I could say something like that about a thing in Fortnite, I would still decide on it's better to not have it in. It was in a similar location to Greasy, I guess, pretty much the same spot. So I can't say its rotation was bad and then not say that about Greasy. But it wasn't in the best spot of the map. You know, it was a bit tucked away in the southwest corner. It was only there for I think it was only there for like a season or 2. And I did not miss it when it went. I don't think it was a great spot at all. I think it was awkward to fight because of the direction all the hangars were just facing towards the runway. And, you know, if you're in one hangar and other people are in the next, you'd have to run around and stuff. There was a bit of a hill. Say if you ran the hangar that's nearest to the coast, if you ran out like the south side of it and then turned west, turned east, sorry, and like we're looking at the other hangar, there was a bit of a hill as well. So like you could have people down there and you couldn't even fucking fight them properly. It was just jank. And yeah, I just never really liked it. So we're gonna put that one in trash. Okay, Gotham City. I'm gonna run through these quicker now. Gotham City is for the first time the first variant we've seen of tilted towers. And I fucking liked it a lot. I thought it was sick. The Batman grappler thing at the time was really good. There was another Batman thing that I can't remember. I think they were like... It was like nunchuck star shit or something like that. You could fire them. It was basically a dark version of Tilted. It was always shrouded in darkness. And I think, was it there you could like fly? Maybe it was just a grapple thing you had. I think you could grapple and then glide. I don't think it was too different to the original Tilted. It didn't have all the buildings there. I'm trying to remember now if it had like a vault. I think big building, like what people would call Trump, we called it just big building, or Big Bertha or something. I think the big building was slightly remodeled, if I remember rightly, for Gotham City. I'm sure as well there was like a whole circle around the city itself, and then when you went into it, yeah, it just went like dark. Whether it was daytime in the game or not. I fucking liked it a lot. It was cool. The visuals of it, like, it's probably the best looking drop in the whole fucking series, in my opinion, actually. I rank Gotham pretty fucking highly, man, honestly. It wasn't there that long as well, so maybe that is a factor as well. You know, if it drops there too long, you get a bit used to it and it's not as OP, but this was there for like a season, or maybe not even that. But nostalgia is really there for Gotham. I can't even remember what it was. I think it was like Chapter 1, Season 9. It was there. It was towards the end. I'm going to put it in God tier. I think it was God tier. Tilted naturally just had a lot of loot there anyway. A lot of people go there. The fights are always good. And yeah, I think this drop was really fucking cool. Next up, Greasy. Greasy has had a storied history. It was one of the original spots in the game that was actually given a name from the off as well. it came, it went, like I said, I think it was about season 6 or 7 of chapter 1, and then it came back in the very final season. Pretty sure it was final season. They brought some drops back, but fucking ruined them. They put some derpy shit. And on this, it had a bubble around it, and I think it was like every minute and a half, your character would just stop and dance for 10 minutes. No, 10 minutes, fuck me. 10 seconds, and then you'd slowly gain health back. Something dropped from the sky, it was like food or something, and you could eat them and get HP. But it was fucking annoying because, like, you could have someone one shot, and then that happens, and they're up builds, or you fall off or something, you couldn't even build and get back up. So it could ruin fights. There's a variant of Greasy in the game right now. None of the chapter 3 spots are in this, but it's actually in the game currently. I think it's actually it's the only spot that was in game day 1 that is in the game right now. Yeah, it is. I always loved Greasy. It was one of my favourite drops, like, originally. I'd say of the original map, it was probably the place I dropped most, actually. I grew to love Fatal perhaps more. Pleasant perhaps more. But I don't know. Let's see. I'm thinking where to put it. I think it's definitely at least A tier. I'm going to put it... Yeah, I'm going to put it ahead of Craggy. Should I? I don't think it was as good as Craggy. I prefer it to Craggy, but I'm going to try and be a bit objective rather than subjective. Subjective rather than objective. I think it had plenty of maths. There was no problem in that. Again, its spot on the map, similar to Flush, wasn't the best, but it wasn't tragic. Yeah, it wasn't a million miles away shifty or tilted or snobby. You could kind of rotate to all of them if you wanted. I'm gonna go off kind of prime Greasy. Speaking that, the current version of Greasy, it's worth considering, is also great. It's one of the best spots in the map. Like, it's some of the old buildings. It's kind of a mix between classic Greasy and another spot that's in the map right now called Reality Falls, where there are big mushrooms. There's like slurp mushrooms there. We'll forget the Greasy version of at the end of chapter 1 happened because it was just shit. I'm going to say that for a few other drops. But in terms of classic prime Greasy, more often than not, when Greasy's been on the map, it's been great. And I always liked it. Happy Hamlet. A lot of people loved Happy. I wasn't massive on it. Again, I don't know why. I just seem to dislike a lot of the snow biomes of Chapter 1 map, but I kind of do. It was in a decent spot. Again, it was quite south of the map, but it was not far from Lucky Landing at all. Subsequently, it wasn't too far from Frosty Flights or Polar Peak. In fact, I think you could see it from Polar Peak. It had a shit ton of loot. I also got a 14 kill game from there once. When it was like 15 people left on squads as well. I could have broken my record of just 16 there, but I didn't. So, it's obviously, it had a lot of people go there. I found a lot of the time the problem with it was there were too many houses. And that's a really curious thing to criticize. A lot of these drops coming up soon, I'm going to criticize for not having enough loot, etc. But say if you're on a roof and you see someone else on a roof, they could drop down, you just fucking lose them in the maze that was Happy Hamlet's little roads and that. And yeah, just audio wise, I think it was trash because so many hamlets like were literally next to each other. It was bad. I think a very, very similar thing to Happy Hamlet was Misty Meadows. I think the inspiration for Misty Meadows was quite clearly from Happy Hamlet. A lot of the art design, the visuals, like the templates for the buildings are straight up taken from Happy Hamlet for Misty Meadows. But Misty just showed what Happy could have been. And I can't overlook that. Misty was a good version of Happy. Happy was not great. It wasn't there too long. I think it was there like a season or two max. And I'm gonna put it low. I'm not ready to put it in trash. Just did have a lot of loot. But I'm gonna put it in D tier at the bottom for now. Haunted Hills, on the other hand, yeah, I'm gonna put it in trash. I don't think it was. I don't mind it. I didn't actively dislike it like I did Frosty Flight. Well, who the fuck landed Haunted? You know, it's like occasionally I would just for like, oh, I haven't been haunted in a while. But as a consistent drop, no. And this is something I used to do as well. Like I was always likely to do that, but I think this says a lot. When I would play solos, indeed, when we play, a lot of my squad mates would do this as well when we'd play that. I couldn't be asked waiting for the bus half time. Like this, I would just hot drop the first big spot that the bus goes over. But whenever the bus would go over the northwest corner of the map, which is where Haunted was, I would always pick Junk Junction because Junk was way better, and that says a lot. It wasn't a good spot. There was a big mountain near it, big ass mountain that had like a castle up there for a time, I think, and some other shit. That was usually better to fucking land up there than Haunted. Haunted's layout wasn't the best. It was kind of dark. There were like fences in the way. There was a lot of gravestones that just block your shots, or you lose sight of people. And I probably only had about 6, 7 chests. The big building itself that was there was okay, but then there's really not much else. It was also in a bit of a shit spot as well, where there was a bit of a hill leaving towards north that you couldn't really see over when you're heading towards Junk Junction. So anyone coming from Junk would have like immediate like slight high ground on you. It wasn't great. The only like good spot because the big ass mountain as well. You'd have to go all the way around that or build up to it, and then you'd waste most of the mats you get. It wasn't great for mats. There was fuck all metal there. You get wood and brick. So the best place to rotate round after that was usually Snobby Shores, which was really good. But how often did the zone allow that? I don't think Haunted was very good at all. It wasn't there that long. To be fair, it was. It was about 3, 4 seasons, I think. In fact, yeah, that was wow. Haunted came in the same time as Tilted. It was chapter 3. It was there a long ass time actually. But I think I do remember at times saying like, blah blah, good spot is gone, but fucking Haunted's still there. So I think that says a lot. It wasn't great. Next up, Holly Hedges. Holly was the chapter 2 version of Greasy, pretty much, and it was a poor man's Greasy in my opinion. It wasn't bad at all, by any means. I'm gonna put it in D tier, I think, but above all the others. Yeah, I feel like Anarchy should be D tier. I'm gonna push Anarchy down. Holly, it never had any vaults there, and it never had any like mythics. It had workbench there. It had a decent amount of loot. It was in the same spot as Greasy was originally, like the southwest corner of the map, but even more west, I think, because chapter 2 map was bigger. It just wasn't that. And nothing about it like stands out and was remarkable to me. It was good for maps all round, like solid spot to land. It just wasn't very interesting. Like there weren't many people landed there. I feel like I often would go there and it was like a dead game. So I guess it's good to get like free loot, but it was like someone landing somewhere that's like contested, at least get an early fight out the way, get warmed up, and then rotate out. When you'd rotate out from Holly for long periods of the chapter 2 map, there was fucking nothing nearby for quite a while. You'd have to kind of like mission to either the agency or whatever's in the center at the time, or Sweaty Sands, maybe onto Misty. Yeah, I guess the woods were there nearby as well, but they were kind of not great. It was just a B-Tech Greasy, in my opinion, so it deserves to be ranked much below Greasy. Next up, Junk Junction. I talked about it briefly when it came to Haunted. Junk also had a spot of like factories like nearby it as well, which were decent. Considering it was in, I said earlier, like probably tied with Flush Factory for the worst location to be in the chapter 1 map. Very, very northwest corner of the map. Considering that, it was actually quite good, surprisingly. I don't know why. I think this may be just personal preference again, because objectively, it wasn't great. It had X amount of chests. I don't know, probably about 8, 9 chest spawns there. There were a lot of like car piles that were kind of in the way of fights. You could argue, and then there's arguments used elsewhere. But there's a big building like right in the centre. Where if you land there, you could get like full view of things. There was also a little mountain just northwest of it, in the very coast of the map, where there was a big like wooden llama there for a while, and that was actually good for loot. Rotating round, you could pick Haunted, which you never usually did, but that was a bit easier to get to Pleasant from Junk than from Haunted or Snobby. Yeah, I like Junk Junction a lot. I think it was the spot where Vivid landed there actually in like the early stages of Fortnite competitive when he was dominating the summer skirmish. So that shows you a lot of how the loot was good enough there generally. And yeah, it's a pretty solid drop. I'm gonna put it in C tier. Was it better than Flush? Probably was, you know. I'm gonna drop Flush back between Junk and Catty. I'm willing to put it above Catty, just because I think Catty without the ball wasn't great. Next up, Lazy Lagoon. What's this? Oh, the pirate ship one, of course. Lazy Lagoon was pretty good actually. Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I'm gonna put this in C tier, but I'm gonna put it above. I'm gonna put it between Flush and Junk. It probably had, no doubt, it had a lot more chests than Junk. It was also in a good spot of the map. Really was. It was. Whoa, what the fuck? Oh, that was weird, guys. Just pause the recording because my feet, like the floor below, shuddered then. That was weird. I'm on a flat free. I'm on a third floor flat for second floor exactly for context, and the floor shook then. So I was like, what the hell was that? Like a door banging or something. Double checked I've not been broken into. I've not. So we're chilling. Yeah, what was I talking about anyway? Lazy Lagoon. It's a decent spot on the map. It wasn't quite central where Lazy Lake used to be. It was kind of off towards the northwest corner of the map, northeast, sorry, near the volcano. When it was basically like the season 6, 7 kind of era of ballers and stuff like that, which is about when the game started taking a bit of a dip, to be fair. But I don't mind Lazy Lagoon. They've got a version of it in the game right now, which isn't quite as good. It's actually in a volcano, which obviously nods to that. I don't mind it so much, but the volcano itself, if you're in there, certainly in a no-build mode, you can get stuck. Nearly happened to my mate the other day. In terms of being open to attack, particularly from snipers, that's bad. The current version of Lazy Lagoon. But on the whole, I think it was a decent spot. Particularly that ship, like when Lazy first came in, I thought it was a good drop. Me and mate Sam, around that era, we're landing typically in like the northeast to do our arena games. And so yeah, we had Lazy quite a lot and rotated there, usually okay. And another variant of Lazy, there's gonna be a lot of them here. I'm gonna power through these quicker now, guys. I don't want to. I'm aware of how long it's taken. Lazy Lake was a really fucking good drop. It was kind of like the Tilted of Chapter 2, or I think that was the intention of it. Because it probably was the spot with the single most buildings, or at least tied with Misty or Pleasant. It was one of like the major spots. A lot of these named locations typically are like notable. So they are named locations. Some that I think of as like cities compared to like towns, if you get me. And Lazy Lake is one of them, and had a lot of shit there. There was it was very close to Misty, which is also OP. So I feel like fifth of the lobby used to land in that region between the two spots. When fishing was OP, there was a fishing hole there. There was a little building just to the side of it by the flopper pond thing. And it just had a lot going for it. There was vehicles in there. It was source of whiplash things. I don't think it ever had a vault, but it didn't really need one. It was already like so OP anyway. It was in a great spot on the map as well. It was right by the river. You could get a boat and just fucking go to the center of the map like that. There were zip lines nearby to get up to the mountains. It was just a really fucking cool drop. And I think Lazy has to go S tier. Considering how OP it was, I didn't actually land there that much. I feel like the squad didn't land there that much. I preferred landing other spots. But it can't be denied that, like, you know, maybe if I was doing like my favorite spots, it would be in like A tier. But I can't deny how fucking wild a drop it was and how good it was. The possibilities even after you've looted to where you could go. You know, it wasn't even that far from like Cassie Corner. It wasn't that far from retail. It was one of like the major spots of the Chapter 2 map, in my opinion. Lazy Mama voice Lazy Links next up. Man, I fucking loved Lazy Links. It's what they replaced Anarchy with, and you know, at first it's like, oh, they got rid of Anarchy. Except it wasn't massive on it, but oh, that's a shame. Fucking hell. But look what they brought in, Lazy Links. It was a golf club, golf spa, golf resort, I guess. In the exact spot Anarchy is in the original map. Center of the map and the north part. It was fucking great. Great spot. It was only there for like a season or two, I think. It's such a shame, man, because it was so good, and I don't think they ever brought it back. There's been like nods to it and variants of it, but the original Lazy Links was really fucking good. I'm going to put this in God tier. Its loot wasn't anywhere near as good as any of these others, Day Docks, Gotham City, Lazy Lake, but its location was good, not too far from Pleasant. To be fair, its location wasn't that good actually. If you'd land there and like rotate, I guess Dusty Deep Divot wasn't that far from it. But I don't care. Like, it was that cool anyway. When the vehicles first came in the game, I think the first one to come in was like a trolley and a golf cart. You could get them from there. Like, you could get the golf cart at least. Fighting there was amazing. I don't know what it was about Lazy Links. I loved taking fights there. I thought it was really interesting. Like, the layout made for great fights. There were parts that were open, there were parts that you could duck and dive. And obviously building just makes ever more interesting anyway. Or attractive. Not always actually, but yeah. Links, again, maybe it's just the fact that it wasn't there for that long adds nostalgia to it. I don't think so, because even when it was there, you know, we had no idea how long it was going to be. This was one of the spots we'd land the most. I like Lazy big time, and I would love it to come back one day. It's a shame they've never brought it back, but maybe one day they will. Next up, Leaky Lake. That's when the big Kevin cube was in the center of. You know, first we're going to put Loot Lake. Not much to say about Loot Lake. It was there for the first 3 seasons. And then it kind of came back in a variant after the cube had melted into the lake. It went back to basically the old Loot Lake layout. But you could bounce across the water would turn into like this cube material. It kind of wasn't bad in any iteration, but it wasn't great. You know, the original Loot Lake, there's the center island with like a big building. Those 2 factories on like the west side, and that was about it. There was other chests like dotted around here and there on like boats or just on the coast. But it was more a crossroads of a spot I was for. It was right in the center of the map, which is why it was. I'm pretty sure it's why it was used central to like the main storyline of the whole Chapter 1, because that pattern's continued in Fortnite, by the way. And Loot Lake, in terms of the lore of Fortnite, it does seem to recur. Like, the center of the map has played a central part in Chapter 2. The center of the map was kind of inspired by Loot Lake. And again, in Chapter 3, there's an area called the 0 Point, which is all tied into the original Loot Lake lore. So it's definitely an important spot on the map. Well, in terms of base loot, it wasn't great. Location was good. It was nice to fight there. But yeah, I just think of it as a crossroads place, really. And I'm going to mark it in D tier. I don't think it was a great spot to land at, for sure. It was a good spot to rotate into, but not to land. I'm going to put it behind Depot and Divot thing. Leaky Lake was a bit better, I think, because it had the islands with like buildings on, and you could use the vortex to fly up, which is all I've always loved. You know, if you can get like a free, basically a rift from somewhere, that adds a lot to it. So I'm going to put Leaky again. I don't think I'm willing to put it higher tier though. I'm just going to rank it highest in D tier. Lonely Lodge was one of the original spots that just never went for a long ass time. But I don't really see why. I don't think it was that good at all. The layout of it was kind of trash. There was a building or two. Not that many chests. Good for wood. But fighting there was awful. It was in a pretty bad spot, right in the right hand side coast. Originally, it was near Moisty, which through personal preference, I think I'd rank higher. But Moisty was also kind of trash. You know, if you compare it to some of the other spots on the map. Yeah, I think Lonely, I'll always love it still because it was an original spot, OG spot. You know, I'd like it back for even if it was like a day or two, just to have it there. But is it a great spot? Not really. Yeah, it's just personal preference. So I'm considering even putting in trash. No, I think we're gonna put in D tier. I'll put it above Hamlet because fuck Hamlet. Lucky Landing was decent. It was on the south corner of the map, very south coast. So location-wise, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. Close-ish to Mexico, Palms, Flush, Fatal, Greasy. They were all in touching distance of Lucky. Well, more often than not, if you land there, you'd have a fucking long-ass time rotating. Its loot was actually pretty good, given how small the area of it was. It was quite packed full of buildings. I didn't really like the center spot because I feel like you shoot someone from a roof or something, they just drop down and hide behind that a lot. But I don't think it was bad. I just don't think it was remarkable either. It was quite an unremarkable drop. Oh, I swear my feet's vibrating again. Maybe it's just the wind. It's not even that windy. Whatever. Let's work out where to put Lucky. I think it was better than Lazy. Probably wasn't. Whatever. We're going to leave it there. Next up, Mega Mall. I am going to put Mega Mall right there. And we move on. I'm joking. No, okay. It's basically just Greasy. But, retail, sorry. But I hated it because I loved retail, and retail's, you know, one of the original big spots in the map. It's one of the big two. The very original big three, actually, I should say. Along with Salty and Pleasant. Almost everyone in the early stages of Fortnite would go one of them three. Like, probably 90 of the 100 players would land across them three. More like 80, but whatever. Mega Mall, it just got this metal design. You pickaxing through it would take fucking ages. And the slipstream around it was more annoying than anything. It happened to coincide around the season where the Fortnite game was really taking a dip. You had the combat shotgun that was just OP as fuck, and that would do a lot of damage from like big range. The main mall itself, the layout was kind of like this big building with multiple floors with big circular chunks sticking out. Lazy was kind of similar to that actually. Lazy Lake. But yeah, it was just, I don't know, it was awkward to fight in my opinion. It was just a really bad version of retail. But at the end of the day, it did still have a lot of chests. And I should probably rank this. I'm going to go C tier. If I'm ranking personal preference and favourites for me, I would go lower. This list kind of half that and half me using my head over my heart. but I just didn't really like it. It was a bad retail, in my opinion. Next up, Misty Meadows. Okay, Misty 100% is going S tier. For a long time, I didn't like Misty, and credit to him if he's watching this video. Sam told me, "Oh no, just land there, mate. It's good. It's great. It's this, it's that." We started landing there, and it was around the time anyway it became apparent in the game, in Chapter 2 map, a season or two where fishing was OP. Fish were great, and boy, we had a lot of fishing spots in Misty. I'm gonna rank Misty ahead of Lazy Links, ahead of Lazy Lake, ahead of Gotham. Misty or Dirty. I think Misty was probably better, but I don't care. I'm ranking Dirty ahead. Nah, you know what? I don't. Yeah, Misty probably does edge it. It had a lot of buildings. It was so big that you'd split it in two. There was like a bridge, and there was the east side of it and the west side of it. We used to typically land, if you're looking at the actual map, the west side of it, but more often not, you'd approach from over the lake at the east side of it. But it was that big and that good for loot that you could land as a squad on one side of it, and then another squad lands on the other, and you could both be pretty fucking looted up, like everyone. That's how good a spot it was. When you go fishing as well, it's great. There were boats there. It was close, like I said. Counterpart argument for how good Lazy was. That's also S tier. Is that Misty was close by as well. Well, yeah, it's vice versa, and I think that contributes to both of them getting to S tier. To be honest, they'd both probably be S tier even without that. They were just really fucking good spots, and I loved landing Misty. I don't think there was ever a time when Misty was bad. It took me a while to get on to how good it was, but yeah, it was a very, very solid spot. Moisty Maya, is that the original version of Moisty? I'm gonna put it D tier low. I don't think it was great. I think it was better than Lonely. I'm gonna start just, if there's things I don't really care much to talk about, I'm not going to. I do want to get this wrapped up. God, look how many spots are left on. I need to get a move on. Or we'll be here for like 2 hours. But yeah, we put it there. It's an original spot of the game. I personal preference. I rate it a lot more than a lot of stuff that's higher up on here. But it was really fucking open and bare. It was just bare. It was a large ass spot of the map. In terms of area of named locations, it probably had the biggest area of the whole map, except maybe the woods in the Chapter 1 map. But Wayland was just bare, or Weeping, whatever the hell it's called. And yeah, I just feel like I'm moisty. There'd be like a shack, you go there, you get one floor spawn and a chest if you're lucky. And then you'd have to run for like 30 meters to a next tree that had chest. I think there was one tree in the center which could have had 3 chests around it. And pretty much everyone landed there because it was the only good spot where you might even get like a full loadout. So then it just fucking went off. Rotation wise as well, it wasn't that great. I will always love it again because it's an OG spot, but it wasn't actually that good. Moisty Palms was the hybrid of that he brought in. It was just Nerf Paradise Palms, and that was around the time, just like Greasy, where they did some dumbass shit in the final season. You know, it was like a celebration of Fortnite thing, where they did some stupid gimmick. The game's always been gimmicky, but it was particularly bad then. Every time you'd crouch in Moisty Palms, you would turn into a prop, and you'd be able to do anything. You just sit there. And that is a big deal, man. It meant that like I hated going there, even though it was half Paradise Palms, which spoiler alert is going to be ranked high. Yeah, that's soon anyway. Yeah, it was nice to see Moisty back in some capacity again at the end of Chapter 1. It was like a celebration of the whole Chapter 1 history, I guess. But the dumbass gimmick didn't help, and at the end of the day, if you're taking Moisty, which is a D tier drop, and Paradise, which is spoiler S tier drop, and combine the two, it's gonna make for a weaker Paradise, and you just want Paradise back. So I'm gonna put Moisty Palms It's got to go higher than Maya. It's still probably better than Maya because it had the palms aspect, which is more chest. But I don't think it's. I don't think it's great at all. I'm gonna put it there. Still gonna put it ahead of Depot. Did it. Neo Tilted, I fucking hated. Again, just because similar to Mega Mall, just because it was taken from Tilted and how many chests were there and how good that spot was, you've kind of got to rank it quite high, but I just didn't like it. I didn't like this futuristic thing they were going for at the time. I didn't like the layout, the metal buildings. Everything being metal buildings are always a bit trash fighting in. Yeah, it wasn't great. I've got to do the same as Mega Mall, I think. I'll put it C. I actually preferred Mall to Neo Tilted, I think. So I'll rank it lower. Paradise Farms, like I said, God tier drop. While Paradise was there, it was only there for like a few seasons. It was fucking amazing, man. And also, I said I would touch upon where I felt the necessary need in pointing out some drops that are not marked on here that weren't named locations. To be honest, there's only ever really been one, I feel like, in the whole history of the game that wasn't a named location I would rank in S tier, but it was near Paradise Palms. It was a place we affectionately called Mexico. A lot of people have called it Westworld or whatever else. I think people call it Westworld. That was just east of Lucky Landing and not far from Paradise Palms. Palms on its own was probably C tier. I've dropped it there. I'm just talking about it, guys. It's gonna go higher up this. Trust me on that. Definitely above Links. We would typically land Mexico actually. Loot up, and the loot there was fucking incredible. There was about 18 chests there. There was rifts, there were quad bikes, like everything you fucking want was there in like this small ass area of the map. You land there, kill people, rift. Because at first no one went there, but not getting on how good that is. And then you could rift right onto the fucking hotel at Palms and just clean up whoever's just finished fighting there or whoever's still fighting there once they're all shambles and you're looted up. It was a fucking rotation I used to love. Landing at Palms directly was great as well. It was just a really good layout. Like, there's not, I guess, just one of them drops where like, if they drop me an epic, like, alright, think of a map and prove it, this city, I wouldn't know where to start with Palms. I don't think it needed improving at all. It was fucking amazing. Really, really good drop, and I think in terms of favourites, it's probably my favourite that's been in the whole thing so far. Well, I still prefer Mexico, but sadly it's not on this map. Was it better than Misty? I'm gonna rank Palms and Mexico together because they're kind of there, and in that case, yes, it beats them, beats all of them. I'm gonna put it top. I miss Palms a lot. It was a really fucking good spot. Pleasant Park, a classic. Of course it goes God tier. Pleasant, one of the original spots of the map. Like I said, one of the big three with Salty and Retail. There were times where Retail was gone or Salty had gone. Pleasant was the last remaining named location, actually. It lasted throughout the whole of Chapter 1 and 2, and then finally went going into Chapter 3, unfortunately. But it's give and take. They brought Greasy back. Brought Laser Lagoon back, I guess. But man, I kind of like the idea of there being a consistent spot that's just always there. And Pleasant probably should have been that. I've dropped it there for now, but it is going God tier, 100%. The best iteration of Pleasant, in my opinion, was when the superhero season was, and there was Doom, and there was the Iron Man spot as well. I think that spot was really fucking good. When there was a vault there, you get the Doom bomb, and some other power up, I think. You get the key card. But Pleasant was always good, regardless. Even when it that vault thing went out of it was still fucking badass. Question is where to put it. There was always plenty of loot for a fucking team there. Its spot was really good in the map as well. It was kind of northwest corner, but it wasn't coastal by any means. It was a bit inwards. It wasn't that far from the lake. It wasn't far from Junk, Haunted, Snobby. I liked it a lot. I forget its height. Misty was Misty better? I forget its height. Pleasant was better actually. No, for its longevity, the size of it, like the scale of Pleasant Park, the surrounding areas I always loved, the mountains there, like the interactions. There was also a broken building for quite a while in the map, just to the west of that I liked landing at. I'm gonna put Pleasant first here. It was a really fucking good spot. Bro, I can't move this. Fucking jam. There we go. Next up, trying to get done quick. Polar Peak, I didn't really like that much. Again, the snow spots, man. It wasn't bad. It was probably my favourite, the 3 snow spots. At first, it was trash, actually, like total trash, because there just wasn't much there. But slowly, the snow thawed, and this big building that's just to the left with the P and Polar there, that became bigger and bigger, and more loot was on there. By the time it was at its height, it was a nice little like fortress up there. The location of it wasn't great though. Getting down of it was a bit of a fucking ball ache. You kind of couldn't drop down certain spots actually. You couldn't slide down it. You just fall. It just wasn't great. The only real sight spots you had on there were Happy, but a lot of that was obscured by like 1 or 2 roofs. And Frosty, which was just garbage anyway. I wasn't massive on Polar Peak. It was the home of the infamous sword, as well, care spot. So for a while, people did go there that much. I wouldn't say I actively disliked it. I just wasn't big on it. I'm gonna put it in D tier, and I'm gonna put it right there. Pressure plant was decent. It was one of the drops that were on the volcano, but I don't think it was great either. I'm going to say too much more about pressure plant. Bit of a meh drop. I'm going to put it above these though. Yeah, I think even above Loot Lake. It'll be both divots. I'm going to put it there. I don't think it's better than Holly, but I think I prefer it to Moisty Palms. Retail, God drop, of course. Goes without saying. Me and Sam recently, since we got back on this game, we played a Zone Wars of the original retail map, and did I miss it? Question is where do I put it here? Gotham versus retail. Lazy. I think only above Lazy Links actually. I think Lazy Lake was better than retail. I think all the other spots had more to it. Which is kind of surprising to me actually. I didn't plan this list. I'm just doing it on the fly. By no means don't think this is me dissing retail or thinking it was like, it doesn't diminish it at all in my eyes. I liked retail a lot. It's a really, really good spot. It was there a long ass time. It wasn't there when Chapter 2 Best came out, I think. Was it? No, I don't think so. I think there was a season or two it wasn't there in Chapter 2, but for the most part it was there for like the whole of Chapter 1 and 2. It's now gone, unfortunately. Rest in peace, my friend. But yeah, it's a really good spot. There was the house section and the shop section. I'd kind of split it into 2 in my mind. House section on the west of as you're looking on the map itself, and shops on the east. Location wise, it was a pretty good spot. Southeast, kind of like pretty much mirror image of where Pleasant Park was on the other side, in the top left hand corner. This on the bottom right. Closest to Lonely and Moisty in the original map, which went great. But retail had plenty of loot for squad, 100%. It was one of like the megapolis kind of spots, in my opinion. Was always good. Rickety Rig was fucking sick for a season and then trash for the next. I think it was only there for 2 seasons. for a while. This was our arena drop. This is chapter 2 map. We're back on. Quite a run of chapter 1 spots, I think. Rickety Rig had a woman there that sold explosive bow, I think, and it was fucking good. Decent loot. It was really it was in the sea, really southwest, like not that far from Holly Hedges. So you could maybe rotate there. Completely forgot to mention it when I talked about Holly. So I don't know what to do. It kind of got nerfed. Like there was just one random day you just drop there, and half of it's been like blown up, and you'd fall into the water, and it was trash. But while it was there, and it had that mythic item and the vaults as well. Don't forget, it had a vault. It was good. There was also kind of a nod to Moisey, I think, that the slurpy, swampy areas nearby. They had some shacks nearby with some chests. Rickety Rig, for the short time it was there, was pretty fucking solid, I think. I'm gonna put it in B tier. At its peak, it was really good. Once the vault was gone, and it was empty, it was garbage. Like, I wouldn't say it was garbage, but it wasn't worth going there. Like, I'd have still landed there if it wasn't for its location, but because its location was trash, but it was that good when it had the vault and the explode bow that it didn't matter. But once they went, it lost a lot of its lust, so I'm going to put it in B, below Frenzy. Risky Reels was a favourite of mine. It's currently in the game right now, actually. It was also in for large periods of Chapter 2. Originally came in Chapter 4 of Season 1, it was. Or maybe it was Chapter 3. I feel like it was Chapter 4, actually. A lot of spots came in Chapter 3, like Tilted, Shifty, Haunted, but I feel like this was actually Chapter 4. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to power through these now. Risky was really good. It had good loot, great design, great layout for fights. It was the first rotation after one of my favourite non-named spots of the original map, the house in the very northeast corner of the map, which was editable. It was wood. Very first editable house. It was also nearby the woods, which at times in the game was really fucking good. I think Risky is a solid A or B tier. I'm gonna go B. I think that's fair. I don't think it's comparable to Fatal, Craggy, Greasy. There's just way more loot there. But I think it was a solid B. At its peak, Rig was probably better, but in terms of consistency, I think Risky is better. I'm not willing to put it over Frenzy Farm. The more I think about it, I think Farm should be an A. Reels and Rig on B. Salty. I never actually got the hype that much of Salty, but it's still definitely good enough to go in A tier. A lot of people landed there, comparable to Pleasant and Retail. I don't think the loot there was ever anywhere near as good as Pleasant Retail, the original map, but it is an original spot. And its location, that's mainly why people landed there, to be fair. Its location was perfect. It was pretty much center of the map, a bit south of center, but in terms of like rotation, you could land at Salty and fight for 2 zones and still be chilling more often than not. You'd still get circle. It was really, really good for location. There's a big Spire Mountain nearby. It was kind of cool to fight on. I feel like once you landed Lucky, you could rotate into Salty. Once you landed Mexico, you could maybe, or Fatal, you could maybe even rotate onto Salty. But if you landed Salty, typically the zone would be north. There wasn't that much to rotate to after that. You'd kind of hope the zone pulls to Fatal or Retail or ends up in Pleasant then. And yeah, I just don't think it's in the same class as a lot of the S tier spots, perhaps surprisingly. But I didn't dislike it at all. I think it was overhyped. It was good, but it wasn't that good. Speaking of another drop that I think was good, but it wasn't that good, was Shifty Shafts. But I think, again, this is a solid. Actually, going to go C tier. Where do I want to put Shifty here? I feel like there's not much difference between a lot of these C tiers.
from Junk to Catty. I think they're all pretty much tied. So I don't think it really matters. We're going to drop it there. It could be awkward to fight with the shaft itself. Being down there fighting though was actually kind of cool. I don't know. You can do a lot of right hand peaks there and stuff. Its loot wasn't too bad. It was surrounded by mountains a bit. It was a good location to go to after landing Greasy. You just kind of naturally go there. But the main allure of Shifty, this is why, as well as being gods, Cloak and Tfue, the original Fortnite Fridays, they won a lot of them. Two teams would split in a squad, 2v2, and nab stomp, basically. Pup stomp. It's whoever gets the most kills there. Shifty, you could land. By the time you loot, you could push up really close. It'd only take a minute or so to run to Tilted. And then you could just clean up your Tilted. So that added a lot to Shifty. And I think that is... having said that, yeah, I'm going to put it in... I'm still not willing to put a hide and seek tier, because at the end of the day, you've still got to like win the drop, and a lot of that's circle dependent. But the fact you could rotate into Tilted afterwards, and even going up as well, you'd be on a big mountain. If you had a sniper or something, or an AR, you could beam. Yeah, I think it's like a BC tier Shifty. Considered making its own tier then, but it'll do there. Slurpy Swamp is fucking sick. That was a good spot. I think this is an A/S tier. I can't decide which one to put it in. I think we're going to go S tier, but we're going to put it at the bottom. It probably was better than Lynx, but I just prefer Lynx. Because Slurpy went through a few iterations. For a long time, it was, in my opinion, probably the best spot in the Chapter 2 map. When fishing was OP as well, it was another good thing. You get the Slurp barrels, you could buy the chug cannon from there, which is obviously fucking OP. But then they kind of nerfed it in like the last season or two, like completely. It just got like bombed or something, and half the fucking loot was missing, as they've often done in the past. And yeah, it was a shame. Location wise, it was again very similar kind of spot to the center of the map, though distance compared to like Pleasant Park retail. So that wasn't bad at all. You get like a boat and just fucking go down the river, and there was like a factory spot there nearby that was pretty good. Then you could take a zip wire, get up towards Misty, and then Lazy subsequently. Slurpy was solid. It was definitely an S tier spot in my opinion. It was one of like the big 4 or 5 in Chapter 2 map. It was really solid drop. Snobby Shores, I really fucking liked Snobby. I always will. Its location wasn't bad. It wasn't the greatest. There's a unnamed spot in the map which I've just remembered that was really fucking good. Which I think everyone called it Viking Mountain or Valhalla. The Viking ship on top of the big mountain that overlooks Snobby. You can maybe land on a Viking ship sometimes and then just make your way down to Snobby. I think even at times in the game there were rifts on the Viking Mountain. Snobby, typically if you landed there, you'd have to run kind of far. Pleasant was nearby. It was typically the rotation or the zone pulled that way. You could maybe go down the south along the various homes, like every 100 meters you find one random house. You could find that and go to Greasy. But I think its location holds it back from being higher rated. If it was more central to the map, fuck me man, I'd rank this A tier. I loved it. I really loved the layout. I think of it comparable to Lazy Lynx. But Lazy had good rotation paths afterwards, and it's pretty free. After you won it, you were chilling. Whereas Snobby, not so much. Snobby also wasn't there that long, I don't think. In fact, it was, yeah. I think it was there for like... It was there from Chapter 1, Season 3 until the end, actually. Something's telling me it went in like the last season or two, and I don't know what would have replaced it. Maybe the snow biome just reached up that high. But either way, whatever. Let's fucking rank it already. Snobby is A tier for me. farm's just in too good the spot. Snobby was definitely somewhere I would have landed for like arena. Yeah, I think we're gonna put it lowest of A tier, but it's still a really good spot. Story suburbs. I forgot this place existed, man. Oh my god. Do rank this high. It's something I can't overlook. This was an original. It was a nod to do an original thing that was North Pleasant that ended up going. There were some houses, broken houses, the very first iteration of Pleasant Park. And then they ended up bringing this back to name spot called Story Suburbs. It was just the same layout, actually, I think. But they added something to it. There were stars that would drop from the sky, and then if you picked it, it would give you a legendary TAC SMG, which was fucking OP. For that fact alone, I'm gonna rank this a tier above what it should be. Rest of the loot wasn't great. Fighting there was a bit awkward with, the broken houses and stuff. It was a bit trash. I've just thought of another unnamed spot that was Prison. I used to fucking love the original Prison, and that was near Moisty. So maybe we should rank Moisty higher. Yeah, I'm gonna put Moisty above Dusty and not above Moisty Farms though. Anyway, Story Suburbs, I think I'll put in C, but I'm gonna put it. There's no way I can make it better than Carty. You could get a fucking mythic and a vault from Carty. You could get what, gold TAC SMG from there? But still, it was guaranteed. So it was a really good spot. And also you could loot there, grab enough shit for a duo at least, maybe even a trio. And then you could go to Pleasant. It was like right next to Pleasant. So it was solid C tier drop. Steamy Stacks, that's what it was called. The spot in the very top northeast corner of the second map. I like Steamy a lot. I'm gonna rank Steamy high. Question is God tier or A tier? I don't think it can go God tier. I think it's outclassed by the other spots in God tier, but I think it's a solid A tier. Better than Snobby. I think it's better than Salty. I think it had more loot than Salty. Salty was in an essential spot, but with Steamy, you could take the stack, go high as fuck, and fly pretty far. You'd typically start heading towards the farm then, or you could take the zip wire all the way south, and then maybe if you have time, head towards what's it called, Dirty Docks or the Grotto. I preferred Steamy to Frenzy. Preferred Steamy to Greasy. Craggy or Steamy? That's a hard one, man. I think Steamy. I'm gonna rank it there. I don't think I'm gonna put it higher than Fail. But it was fucking good. Yeah, a lot of loot, big spot, a lot of buildings, pretty cool to fight at. There was never really many situations in Steam where I was like, oh, I hate fighting it. In terms of the map, it never really changed at all. Actually, Steamy, it pretty much remained as it was from the start to the finish. Another unnamed spot, I should say, because that was for a long time my solo arena drop, or one of my solo arena drops in the Chapter 2 map. The 3 broken houses to the northwest of Steamy. Occasionally I'd land there, then move into Steamy, just finish whoever's there, loot them, take the stack and go. It was a good spot. And yeah, just linked well to another couple of major thoroughfares. Sunny Steps. Me and Sam landed there quite a lot actually for a while on arena, but we only really went there because ballers were nearby. It's also currently in the map right now actually as an unnamed spot. I don't know if it's direct hit for tie, it's similar layout to it though. Decent loot, better than you might think. Pretty much just only brick for mats. The occasional tree scattered about. But fighting on pyramids naturally is just a bit jank anyway. It was overlooked by the volcano in the original map, and again on this one. And that can't be overlooked either, because someone coming over there, you just haven't made your high ground. You could be running up that volcano and you don't really know what's coming as well, vice versa. So I think it's kind of an average spot. I don't think it's D tier at all. But I'm going to C, and I'm going to rank it lower and more than total. Sweaty Sands was another major spot. Man, the Chapter 2 map did have some fucking cool spots, actually. I thought Chapter 1 spots would be higher on this list. But I feel like Chapter 2 is probably going to win it when we look at it at the end. But Sweaty Sands, I think, has got to go God tier. I think it had shit on a loot. It was in a great spot. Really good. Just gonna get moving now, guys, because they're dead. In my head, I was like, oh, this will take like an hour. It'll take 2 hours if I carry on chatting again. The agency. Which one's which? The agency or the authority? I don't know, man. No idea. Oh, that's the rig. Oh shit, they were separated? Okay, so Rickety Rig was the trash one. Alright, let's go and fucking trash here. That was after it got fucking bombed and shit. The original rig's a separate thing. Okay, let's go. Man, the rig was fucking sick. For its location alone, it can't go God tier. Let's go an A tier. I'll put it at the back, A tier though. The agency. Which one was that? I think the authority was the one with the vault. And the guy. What was it? Was that the guy who had the legendary drum gun? Either way, these are like similar drops. Center spot of the original map. Of the second map, sorry. So we're gonna put them neck and neck. I can't differentiate. I think they're definitely A tier drops. There were a lot of fishing spots nearby. It was basically one building, but it was fucking gigantic. Yeah. Put them there. The block you can never really rank because it would change every time. There was some iterations of the block that were incredible. Me, Sam, old squad mates was Louis and Declan did back before like arena was even a thing. There was like open squad tour cups. We did that 2 days running, I think, and got like a medal. We basically got like the point requirement to say you've done it. We did that by landing in one of the block spots, which I fucking loved. I wish that had become a permanent spot. It was the giant stadium. That was badass. In the end, they still had like the football spot, I guess, that was near. Excuse me, Snobby and Tilted and that was unmarked. But some blocks were awful, but the block was always valuable, and I always rated the block a lot higher than a lot of people. I think, even amongst like my friends. Because you would go, there'd be a guaranteed God chest there every time. Before God chests were a thing elsewhere on the map, they were first in the block. And the base idea of the block was just incredible. They should never have got rid of it, in my opinion. A new spot every week was basically the base idea. Someone would design something creative, and they'd get their own city or POI every week. Such a cool idea, man. Like, no other game's ever done anything like that, I don't think. Definitely no BR. And why they got rid of that idea, I do not know. Maybe it's just the logistics of it was just too much. Updating the map every time. Epic kind of just slowly started moving away from weekly updates and barely fucking update the map each season. Yeah, I probably answered my own question there, but I don't think I can rank the block anything other than C tier, just because you never knew what block you were going to get. More often than not, they were a bit meh. But when blocks were good, they were very good. But yeah, it's the base side. It's makes sense to put it in like the average tier, in my opinion. The Fortilla, what the fuck is that? I don't even know. It's almost certainly a chapter 2 thing, but I don't actually remember. So we're gonna move on. The Grotto. Holy fuck, I loved the Grotto. Grotto's going S tier, guys, 100%. The only question now is where. It wasn't there long. I think it was only there like a season or two max. But holy fuck, was it good. And when they filled it up and just never fucking replaced, like, it brought it back, and I'm forever good. The grotto was nearby Dirty Docks. The base of it, it was built into the mountain, hence the name. And you could enter from two sides. A cave that was just sort of dirty, very close to Dirty Docks, which is another S tier drop. I'm putting this at S tier. It had a vault, and the legendary was a minigun, which was probably the weakest of all of them, but it could be OP. So if you ended up with two of them, I think you could actually get two of them. Oh no, what happened? You get the mythic minigun, and you just rock the fucking legendary one that you get from the vault or something. But holy fuck, man, me and Sam used to land here a lot. Robert on squads or trios or whatever in arena. It was just a really cool spot. There was great rotation. You could hit the fan afterwards. There was a big fan that went off at the end of filling before so you can get in the grotto. But that'd shoot you high. You could fly pretty far. Location wise, like I said, it was close to Dirty. It was good. You could fly even up and get in a zip wire and then head pretty. It was close to retail as well. I think when the grotto first came in, it was a good spot. But I think there was a time when it didn't have the vault and that mythic. And then maybe a short period after where it didn't have that either. So I don't think I can rank it above any of the others. In terms of my favourite spot, it would probably be like all time. It would probably be like top 5. But I'm going to leave it there for now, I think. May end up moving it further up though. The shark is very similar to the grotto. For a short period, it was fucking sick. It had a vault, the mythic there, and I love that season. Chapter 2, Season 4. If I ever come around to like ranking seasons, I think it was Season 4, Season 3 of Chapter 2. The one with them mythic spots was fucking sick season. It was really cool. Everyone always seemed to have like all gold or purple loadouts. Everyone was stacked, and I prefer that than having a poorly pool across the game. But yeah, it was a really good spot. I think I'm not ready to rank it as high as S tier, but it's definitely A tier spot. Its location was a bit far out. You can get a boat afterwards. Oh, you also got the grapple. The mythic grappler from there, actually. Which was a never-ending grappler, I think. I think it's A tier. It's probably better than the rig. I'm gonna put it there. No, it's better than Snobby. I'm gonna put it there. To be honest, I think the rig was better than Snobby as well. I'm gonna move that up. Yeah, I don't know what the Fortilla is, man. Do not remember it at all. Which probably means it was trash. Or I just skipped that season. I don't think I've ever like not seen any of these drops. I just don't remember it. Anyway, the yacht next up, you could get a mythic from there as well. It's where you fought Deadpool, but with mythic handguns, they were dual pistols. It wasn't bad. I preferred it than more than a lot of people think, but it wasn't exactly great either. So I'm gonna put it in D tier, but I think I'm gonna put it top D tier. It was close to Steamy, so you could land there and rotate into Steamy. That's good. Tilted Towers, okay. It went through many iterations. It was good, it was bad, it was everything. But before it got nerfed, I'm just gonna judge this on Prime Tilted. It's also back in the game right now as well. It's not as good as the original Tilted, in my opinion. They fucked with a few buildings. The original Tilted was the spot. It is arguably the most famous spot in Fortnite history. I don't think I can rank it anything other than the highest S tier. In terms of my favourite spot of all time, is Tilted it? No, I don't think so. I think it barely makes top 5, maybe not even top 5. I haven't even formulated that in my head. Maybe at the end I'll do it. But man, there's just something about original Tilted. No Fortnite drop was ever busier than Prime Tilted. It dropped in season 3 of chapter 1. When the original map had been so sparse, they dropped Shifty in, they dropped Snobby in, they dropped Haunted in, they dropped Risky, I think. Lazy, I don't think it was quite yet, but they dropped a few other things in that I'll get to. But the biggest one, of course, was Tilted. It was in a great spot on the map, kind of central, not far from Lazy Lake, not far from Shifty, not far from Pleasant as well. It was a ball lake to fight on. It was a fucking dog fight. It was just so many people land there. You'd kind of land on. You'd only have time to get one chest and one floor drop, maybe if you're lucky, and then someone's on you. But man, there's nothing more satisfying than like winning tilted from the off with like fucking 8 kills across the squad at least, which is more often than not what you'd have to do. Tilted as a rotation spot was like the hub of the original map. It's probably the hub of the current map. It's just a very notable drop, and I think I can't put it anywhere else than the top spot, at least for now. But I doubt it's going to get beaten. Man, a lot of these spots left. Don't remember much of at all. Tilted Town was the Wild West version where you couldn't build, so that was just a nerf tilted. I'm gonna put it there for now. Smart Temple wasn't great. I'm gonna put that in D. There. A lot of these drops, man, are no, but I've been left with a lot of trash, I think. Smart Town didn't have much loot, but for nostalgia's sake, I'm gonna like a higher than Temple. I think it's better Temples. I'm gonna put it there. I may sort these out more. I'm just kind of putting them on now. I've just seen a good couple. Wayland Woods, man, I loved Wayland. That wasn't what I was referencing then, but I just spotted this. I liked Wayland a lot. It went through some iterations. The very first iteration of Wayland, I don't think it was that good with the hedge maze, just after the photo. But when it got buildings and it got rifts there, it was fucking sick, and it was close to some good spots like Risky. You could rift far enough to get to fucking basically all the way to like Divot or Depot. I think Wayland's solid A, but I'm gonna put it lowest of A. I preferred it to Risky though. I'm gonna put it in that tier. In terms of favourite, though, personally, I'd probably have it higher. Its chests were good, they weren't that good. Weeping Woods was just a worse Wayland. It wasn't a bad spot at all. Close to Slurpee, which was good. It was close to Salty, which was in Season 2 map for a long time, and then it became Salty Towers, I think. Is that not actually? Oh, it is on the map. But yeah, is it good enough to rank in the same tier? No, not at all. I'm gonna put it in C tier for. Excuse me. Put it in C tier for now. I'll probably even fix it in a bit. Coral Castle I didn't like at all. I'm gonna put that in D tier. I mean, it was fucking trash. Bottom of I'm gonna put it in trash tier. It was just not a good drop. So I'll put it higher than all these. Doom's Domain was the Pleasant Park variant that I was referencing before, so that's definitely S tier. That was the best version of Pleasant. In fact, it's going to be higher than Pleasant itself. Subsequently, I think I'm going to drop Pleasant back. Doom's Domain was really fucking good. Is it better than Palms or any of these spots? I don't know, man. This is tough. I think Palms is better than Pleasant at its peak, but Pleasant's been there longer. I think all these S tier drops are so good that like a lot of these could be in any order. Honestly, I could do it tomorrow and rank them differently. I may fix this up again. Pleasant's dropping, man. It's just Doom's Domain's the better version of it. It kind of killed it. Yeah, boy, it's dropping. I'm gonna put it there. I think I will drop it behind Lazy Lake. But put it ahead of Retail for sure. I definitely prefer Pleasant to Retail. What the fuck's the spy? Oh, that was the last variant of the Centre. Yeah, I didn't like that much. It was the shit agency. I'm gonna put that in D tier. Fuck no, I think it was good enough to be C tier still, but I'll put it at the bottom for now.
Stark Industries is probably the last spot here, having a quick browse and perusal. That is going to be God tier. This was definitely a God tier drop. It was fucking stacked. It was that season with the superhero thing again. That season, there's so many drops I loved. It had a vault. You could get the Iron Man power ups in there, which were really good. Man had a lot of fucking loot. Was it better than Grosso? No, in my opinion. In fact, it probably was. I prefer Grosso, but at its peak, Stark Industries were really fucking good. Now, Lazy Links needs to drop here. It's back, I think. A lot of these places are like mythics. I like as many times as I'd land at Pleasant, I'd never really get bored fighting there. I feel like there were times where I would get bored fighting a Stark in the streets, but that was probably on the state of the game then. I don't know. I mean, I guess Pleasant was in the game then. I'd never get bored. But the rewards from Stark Industries are just so much more. So again, in terms of favourite drops, I think I'd drop it below Pleasant Retail, but if I'm being subjective or objective, my brain's fried. I don't think of the right word in this situation right now. Stark Industries is probably going to be higher. It's 25 to 5 a.m. Brain's fucked. The Ruins. I don't even know what that is. No clue. It's probably a sensitive map version. I think it was when the it was when the fucking zombies were in. I'm gonna put that in trash because I think it was trash. Moving on, get there. Colossal Coliseum, I didn't like that much. I don't think you could break certain spots of that. Look at this in D. We're gonna put it there, I think. Hunter's Haven was kind of good. It replaced Loot Lake today? No, it was near Loot Lake, I think. Or Lazy Lake, sorry, in Chapter 2 map. But I think it was kind of unremarkable. It was also surrounded by mountains, which wasn't a great spot. Salty Towers, combination of salty and tilted. Naturally, it was pretty good. But also I can't help but compare it to both of them too, and I feel like it suffers because of that. I'm gonna put it in C tier, maybe reorder it. Stealthy Stronghold was trash, in my opinion. Well, not trash tier, but it just wasn't good. I'm gonna put it in D tier. Bony Berbs was it replaced the tilted spot. Yeah, it was kind of half tilted town. I don't think it was that good. We're gonna put this in D. Colossal Crops, I guess, is probably a variant of Farm. Man, I should have read all these drops, because a lot of the things I've kind of referenced before, like, oh, there was a time when they kind of nerfed it, and I can't quite remember how, but they nerfed Frenzy Farm. That was it, Colossal Crops. Believer Beach was just a seasonal variant of Sweaty Sands. So, it's kind of cheating here, but it has to go S tier. I still prefer the original Sweaty Sands to Believer Beach, so we'll put it there. Corny Complex again. I think was that just a variant of Farm? Frenzy Farm. Holly Hatchery again, just a fucking variant of Holly Hedges. Where did I put Holly? Yeah, that just goes next to that. Sludgy Swamp, I think, was the nerf version of Slurpy Swamp. Man, yeah, I was just left with like all the seasonal variants then. They were all in alphabetical order until then. I was like, why? And that's why. So we're done, guys. Let's reorder some of these. I don't think I need to. I don't think there's much more to say about a lot of these like seasonal variants, to be honest, that I didn't already cover on the maps. Certainly the first half of this video, I kind of extrapolate a lot more of my ideas and my thoughts. So apologies, I guess, to fans of drops that were later on.
I did have to fucking wrap this video up, ultimately. It's a shame that there's no season 3, or there's no chapter 3 drops on here right now as well. I'm going to run through some of them new ones quickly and where I'd rate them. There's a variant of Greasy Grove. I'll rank that separately. I don't think I prefer it as much as the original Greasy, but it's a good spot. There's a spot called the Joneses, which is very average in my opinion, D tier or trash tier. There's a spot called the Sanctuary, which is again D tier or trash tier. As of me recording this, by the way, it's near the end of Chapter 3, Season 3, and I've not played much of the first 3 seasons. I didn't play any of the first 2 seasons of Chapter 3. I don't think I played the last season of Chapter 2, and I've got onto it like 2-3 weeks before the end of Chapter 2, Season 3. So there may have been some spots I'm not going to mention here that were in Chapter 3, Season 1 and 2, and they're gone now. Or they've changed. But what am I thinking? Pleasant. There, we know about Pleasant. Greasy variant I talked about. What other spots are even on that map? There's a place called Sign Up Station, I don't think it's that good. There's a place called Speedway, which I'd probably put in C tier. There's a place called Coney that's kind of similar to Lazy Lake, in my opinion. That would probably be a B tier spot. I think that would be there with Whalen and Whiskey. B tier was the least common tier, actually. There's a spot called Rave Cave that right now, as of this moment, I would probably put in God tier. Because it has a vault, it has slate barrels, it has so many chests, enough for a squad 2 times over. It has ballers, it has a slipstream round, it's a great location. Rave Cave would be pretty well placed on this. Maybe low S tier, but it would be pretty well placed. What other spots are on the map right now? I can't think of its name. There's one like near Speedway in the desert. I can't think what it's called right now, but that's a good spot. That's the best of the desert spots, I think. And I would probably rank that like A or B tier. Probably B. Risky's came back. The variant of Risky is not the favourite compared to the past ones, but it's still good. It's pretty much the same, to be fair. My brain's that fried that I can't even think of other stuff. There's a spot called Reality Falls, which is I would probably rank C tier for doing this now. Lazy Lagoon return. That variant of Lazy Lagoon I think I'd rank lower than the one that I did. I'd probably make it a D tier drop. And yeah, I just can't think of what else right now, guys, unfortunately. In the current map. But this is it. This is how I rank them. I didn't fine tune some of them that I put in towards the end. I didn't really think about where I was putting them, because man, there's a lot more drops than I thought there was. But this is how we finish. I'll reel them off. Maybe I'll reorder them here as I'm saying them. S tier, God tier. A lot of these could have been in any order, but I went with in this order. Tilted Towers, Doom's Domain, Paradise Farms, Misty Meadows, Dirty Docks, Gotham City, Lazy Lake, Stark Industries, Pleasant Park, Retail Row, Slurpy Swamp, Sweaty Sands, The Grotto, Lazy Links, and Believer Beach. Yeah, curiously, Season 2, Chapter 2 had a lot more spots in God tier, the second map. I'm surprised at that. Maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, I don't know. A tier. We have Fatal Fields, Steamy Stacks, Craggy Cliffs, Greasy Grove, Frenzy Farm, Salty Springs, The Shark, The Rig, Snobby Shores, The Authority, and The Agency. Man, yeah, the second map's dominating this. Maybe because there was more mobility available, and subconsciously I'm just thinking of them spots to land and where you go next and stuff. I don't know. Anyway, B tier, we had Wailing Woods, Risky Reels, the OG, or the OGs. C tier. 50 Shafts, Junk Junction, Lucky Landing, Lazy Lagoon, Flush Factory, man, this is where a lot of the first map spots are. Catty Corner, Starry Suburbs, Mega Mall, Neo Tilt, Sunny Steps, The Block, Tilted Town, Tomato Town, Weeping Woods, The Spire, Hunter's Haven, Salty Towers, Colossal Crops, and Corny Complex. That last 5 could have gone in any order, to be honest. In D tier, we have The Yacht, Leaky Lake, Anarchy Acres. You know, I'm going to move Anarchy top there. We have Anarchy Acres, The Yacht, Leaky Lake. Fuck. Apologies. I'm going to move both Hollies higher up as well. Go again. D tier, we have Anarchy Acres, Holly Edges, The Yacht, Holly Hatchery, Leaky Lake, Pressure Plant, Moisty Palms, Moisty Mire, Dusty Depot, Dusty Divot, Loot Lake, Lonely Lodge, Tomato Temple, Colossal Coliseum, Polar Peak, Happy Hamlet, Stealthy Stronghold, Bony Bed, Sludgy Swamp, Corny Crops, Haunted Hills, The Ruins, Coral Castle, Frosty Flights, Rickety Rig, The Fortilla. If I'm being frank, I really should move Sludgy Swamp higher, because however nerfed it was still the swamp, which was a fucking good spot. So I think we're going to put that in C. But the rest of it I'm kind of happy with for now. I guess for good. Excuse me, and that is how I rank them, guys. I did not intend this to be a fucking feature film length video. Apologies, I just get rambling. There was a lot of spots to talk about. I didn't realize quite how many drops. I kind of just loaded this up and straight away went. I didn't even scroll down and look at them all, but yeah. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. What you would put in God tier, any spots that I've put elsewhere. But be respectful about it. I've done tier lists in the past where people are like, oh, you noob, you this, you that. At the end of the day, it's still just my opinion combined with the general consensus from my perspective. People will have different favourites, and people will rank things higher than I have and lower than I have. But it's still, yeah, I'm keen to hear your guys' thoughts. Also, your guys' thoughts on the current map, the third map, which didn't have representation on here, but kind of reeled them off at the end. The ones that I remembered anyway. So yeah, I'm done, guys. May come back with more tier list videos in the future. It's been a long ass time since I've done one of these, but I always enjoy doing them. Yeah, maybe I'll like rank the seasons or like every weapon in Fortnite or some shit. I don't know. We'll see.